Well, guys, we're just joined here by Giovanni Bernard, I believe. Yes, indeed. Running back from North Carolina, and we'll let you guys be a little part of this conversation as well, as we have one of the best running back prospects in the draft sitting here. Not only a runner, punt returner, very explosive player at the University of North Carolina, which it's good to meet you, sir.
Nice to meet you.
Greg Cosell, NFL Films.
Well, nice to meet you. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, good to meet you. And Tar Heels have a lot of guys who are going to go in this draft.
Yeah,
we got a good squad.
Definitely, we definitely do. We had a good season last year, and I actually just saw two of my teammates up there.
That's right.
Sly Williams and Jonathan Cooper. So had a little picture.
That'd be no problem running behind Mr. Cooper now.
Oh, not at all, not at all.
That guy's feet are almost as good as yours.
Just as good. I'm telling you, he has great feet, and he's a great athlete.
I saw some of those, plays to the outside, whether they were screens or whatever. Man, that guy was getting out in front of you.
Yeah, he's an athlete. Whoever gets him, it will be definitely. For the most part, just be awesome.
So we have another. This is the running back section, and this is Miguel. Is it? I don't want to be incorrect.
Maysonet.
Maysonet. Okay.
Yes,
and Stony Brook in New York. I grew up in Queens, so I'm familiar with Stony Brook.
Yep, right on Long Island.
There you go. So we got two running backs. And I guess you'd be called a small school running back, but you probably get tired of hearing that, don't you?
Yeah, a little bit, but it's okay.
All right.
With it.
All right. And we have Caleb in Philly and Dave in Danville, California. You guys familiar with these guys?
A little bit, just name-wise. That would be it.
All right. Well, we'll educate you, and then you can jump in.
Okay.
All right. Because Mr. Bernard here is very explosive runner receiver who I think fits exactly what the NFL does now in terms of backs that can do both, that can create matchup problems, get on the perimeter. So I think your style of play, I think, fits the way the NFL is trending. What have teams talked to you about?
Just really being a versatile player. I think that's the biggest thing nowadays. Playing the running back position in the NFL is that you've got to be able to do everything. You can't just be that, ground and pound guy or just the guy that just can catch screens, really. So you got to be able to be, just that full-time player and a guy that can kick, return, punt, return, whatever the team needs. You got to be that guy. So.
And what if teams, obviously you guys, and you guys know this, I'm not telling anything you don't know, your size wouldn't be viewed as, quote-unquote, feature back size. Yeah. So what if guys, teams that you've talked to, what have they said? I know you guys were both at the Combine. So what did teams talk to you about? And since then, what have they said about how they see you fitting into particular schemes? Miguel, how about you?
Honestly, a lot of teams just really question my catching abilities.
Okay.
Because coming from Stony Brook, we didn't really utilize the running back in a lot of catching situations. So I ran the ball mostly. So a lot of the teams just want to know if I can catch the ball. And when I went and had my pro day and I went and tried out and worked out for a couple of teams, I was able to show them that I can catch the ball. That's what really I had to really show the scouts and teams that I could do.
Yeah, because you could be in a situation where you're playing in sub packages and you have to be in there as a receiver, to get you matched up on a linebacker, for instance. You'll be in that situation too. The other thing I'm sure that teams talk to you about, because in the NFL, if you're a back, especially if you're going to play in sub packages, if you can't pass protect, you're not getting on the field.
Yes.
Did teams talk to you about that?
Definitely. That's huge. As a running back, you got to be able to, stay in there and pick up that middle backer blitz if you need to, or that guy coming off the edge. You got to be able to do that just to help the team win. And it doesn't. At a time, it doesn't become about size. It becomes about heart and just the want to and the drive to.
Because you're playing, let's say, for Tom Brady or Peyton Manning or Drew Brees. Yeah. You miss the blitz.
That's a big investment.
Yeah. You're going to hear about it now.
Oh, yeah.
That's a huge
and you're not just going to hear about it from them, although they'll get on you, but you're going to hear about it from the coaches.
Oh, and the fans.
Exactly. and I know college football now, there are schemes that are, I think, there's a little more integration of schemes, but still in the NFL, because there's more time that can be spent. Obviously, there's some things you haven't seen yet.
Of course.
And those are things you're really going to have to pick up. So, I would imagine that. Well, let me ask you this: what's your expectation with this draft? Where do you think you're going to get drafted? You think you're going to end up being a free agent, or what's your expectation?
I hope to get drafted, but at the end of the day, I'm not really hung up on it. If I don't get drafted, then that's fine with me. I'm not really setting my mind on getting drafted, because projections don't really mean anything until it actually happens.
Right.
So I'm not really setting myself up for a big letdown if I'm hoping to get drafted a certain round. So if I become a free agent, then I'm gonna have to live with it, and honestly, I'll still be proud of the situation I'm in.
Now, Gio, I know with you it's probably a little different. Obviously, there's you can read a ton of mock drafts and reports and the whole deal, and you're a guy that is usually put in the top 3 or 4 of the backs coming out. What's your sense of what's going to happen the next 48 hours?
Well, honestly, my mentality is really the same as Miguel here. I think the biggest thing is just, you don't concentrate on that. You don't look at all those mock drafts. You don't look at the projection, because that stuff kind of takes you away from what you really have to do right now. And that's really, we're training right now. We're training to get better. We're training, to obviously get ready for an NFL season. And we don't want to, prove anybody right. The doubters, we don't want to prove them right and say, oh, he can't do that. So really, we're just going out and just kind of getting better at everything that we're doing right now. And once we get picked up, if we do, if we don't, we're going to find a way in there.
Hey, Caleb, Dave, you guys have any thoughts on this? I mean, I'm sure you follow, with our Google Hangout here, I'm sure you follow college football and the NFL pretty closely. What do you think? What do you guys think of this whole idea, by the way, which affects these guys, that you can draft backs anywhere? That's sort of become in vogue now the last number of years, that you can draft backs anywhere. How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, well, I'm an Eagles fan, so I see a lot of Shady McCoy and the scat back and that kind of stuff. It definitely, I see that that's the future of the NFL. And like they mentioned, if you could pass block, some guys are just in the NFL because they can pass block really well. Like Joseph Adai, had a great career because he was a great pass blocker, that kind of stuff. So I definitely see that future and how it's changing.
Dave, what do you think?
I've seen, as a Raider fan, I see guys like Marcel.
I feel for you, by the way. I feel for you.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. We need about 15 first-round draft picks this year. I kind of feel like with Marcel Reese was one of our bright spots last year, and I believe he was undrafted. So I think you can find guys with heart and talent out there. So I think that's possible. Of course, you always like to have your marquee guy, if you can, to ride through the season.
Now, Dave, are you aware of what Marcel Reese was in college? Do you know what his college?
He's a wide receiver, I believe.
He went to the University of Washington. He was a wide receiver for Jake Locker.
Yeah, and my understanding was he didn't get drafted because he's kind of a tweener. They weren't sure how to use him. Teams weren't sure what they were going to get.
Well, yeah, because he didn't fit the wide receiver mold at 6'3", 240 pounds, so they weren't sure what his position was. But he's a pretty good player now.
Oh, he's great.
Yeah, he's that new H-back, which is popular around all the NFL teams now.
Well, a lot of the NFL is built around the passing game. And whether it's catching the ball, whether it's blocking, it's critical. And just to wrap up with Miguel and Giovanni here, that's so critical, guys. I mean, obviously you're running backs, and you're used to getting the ball, being handed to you. And not that that won't happen, but at the end of the day, the league has really transitioned this. I'm sure you guys know. Yes. It's very much a passing league. And you mentioned it yourself, Miguel. What was the first thing they wanted to see you do? How you caught the ball.
Yes, correct.
So, I mean, that's really, really critical as you move forward. And whether you get drafted or you're a free agent, that's a really critical part. That and pass protection. Mm-hmm. So I wish you guys the best of luck.
Thank you very much.
All right. Great to meet you guys.
Yes, of course.
Good luck. All right. So we had Giovanni Bernard and Miguel Maysonet.